The studio lights were dim, but the tension was electric. What was supposed to be a calm rehearsal turned into one of the most shocking moments between two of the most admired stars in the entertainment world, Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan. No one could have imagined that behind their flawless smiles and brotherly chemistry, a storm was silently brewing, waiting for the perfect moment to explode. It all began late one Friday night inside a sleek, glass-walled studio in Beijing. The pair had been working on a joint performance for a highly anticipated anniversary show. Cameras had been rolling all day, and exhaustion was written on everyone's faces. The production team had just called for a break when Xiao Zhan sat quietly by the piano, running his fingers lightly across the keys, humming softly. The tune was peaceful, nostalgic, one that Wang Yibo immediately recognized. It was their song, the one they wrote together years ago when everything between them was simple, when laughter filled their breaks, and the world outside didn't matter. But something about the moment felt different now. Yibo, standing across the room, stared silently. He had been feeling it for weeks, the quiet distance, the unspoken tension. Xiao Zhan had been colder, more distant, sometimes walking past him without a word. Yibo wasn't one to express emotions easily, but even he could no longer ignore the sting. "Why are you playing that?" Yibo asked, his voice steady but sharp enough to make heads turn. Xiao Zhan looked up, his eyes unreadable. "It's just a song, Yibo. Nothing more." "Nothing more," Yibo repeated, a faint scoff escaping his lips. "You and I both know what that song meant. But I guess it's easy to forget when everything's about fame now, huh?" That sentence landed like a spark in dry grass. Xiao Zhan froze, his hands stiff on the piano keys. He turned, meeting Yibo's gaze directly. "Don't start with me, Yibo. You think you know everything, but you don't. You don't see the pressure, the sleepless nights, the things I have to endure just to keep everything from falling apart." "And I don't," Yibo shot back, stepping closer. "I've been there too. But at least I didn't start acting like I'm above everyone else." "You've changed, Zhan." The crew could feel it. Something heavy filled the air. The director tried to intervene, but the two stars were lost in their emotions. "Maybe I changed because I had to." Xiao Zhan's voice cracked, louder now. "Maybe I got tired of pretending everything was fine while you pushed me away every chance you got." Yibo's jaw tightened. "I pushed you away. You were the one who started hiding things. You stopped talking, stopped trusting me. Don't act like I'm the villain here." Suddenly, Yibo reached out, his hand brushing against Xiao Zhan's arm, but Xiao Zhan pulled back sharply. The sudden motion caused a chair to topple over, clattering against the floor. Everyone jumped. "Enough!" Xiao Zhan shouted, his chest heaving. "You think this is about fame or pride? This is about you not listening anymore. You don't even try to understand me." Yibo's eyes glimmered under the studio lights, emotions swirling behind his usual calm expression. "Maybe I stopped trying when you started building walls between us." The silence that followed was deafening. The director whispered to the staff to stop recording, but the cameras were still quietly rolling. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Xiao Zhan's hand trembled slightly, and Yibo noticed it. He took a hesitant step forward, his voice softening for the first time that night. "Zhan!" But Xiao Zhan turned away, brushing his hair back with a shaky sigh. "Don't, Yibo. Just don't." The room's tension shifted, from anger to heartbreak. Yibo wanted to say more, but pride held him back. Xiao Zhan wanted to walk away, but his heart wouldn't let him. Then suddenly, something unexpected happened. The rain outside began to pour, tapping against the large studio windows like 1,000 tiny drums. The sound filled the space, echoing the rhythm of their racing hearts. Xiao Zhan walked toward the window, his reflection merging with Yibo's behind him. "You know," Xiao Zhan said quietly, "the first time we met, I thought we'd be unstoppable. We fought the world together. Now, it feels like we're fighting each other." Yibo's lips parted, but no words came out. "You were my brother, Yibo. My friend." Xiao Zhan turned around slowly, his voice breaking. What happened to that? Yibo clenched his fists. His eyes softened, but pain flickered in them. I don't know. Maybe we let everything else get in the way. For a brief second, it looked like everything might calm down, until one of the assistants accidentally walked in holding a phone, showing a trending post online. A tabloid rumor claiming that Yibo had insulted Xiao Zhan behind the scenes. Xiao Zhan's expression darkened. So it's true. Yibo's face twisted in confusion. What are you talking about? The post. Xiao Zhan snapped, showing him the phone. Did you say all this about me? Yibo's voice rose again. Of course not. You think I'd talk behind your back like that? Then why is it out there, Yibo? Why does it sound exactly like something you'd say? Because people lie, Zhan. That's what they do. I thought you knew me better than that. The fight reignited, fiercer than before. Voices clashed, emotions burned. Years of friendship, laughter, and shared memories now caught in the fire of misunderstanding. At one point, Yibo slammed his fist on the table, startling everyone. You were supposed to trust me. And you were supposed to be there for me. Xiao Zhan yelled back, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. But every time I needed you, you disappeared. That sentence shattered Yibo's composure completely. He froze, breathing hard, then took a deep breath and said quietly, You're right. Maybe I wasn't there. But not because I didn't care, because I was scared. Xiao Zhan blinked. Scared of what? Of losing you, Yibo said softly. Of caring too much. Of people twisting what we have into something ugly. Xiao Zhan's breath caught. His anger began to crumble, replaced by a deep ache that words couldn't describe. The room was silent again. No sound but the rain and the faint hum of the city beyond the glass. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Then Xiao Zhan slowly walked forward, stopping just inches away from Yibo. His voice was low, trembling. You could have just told me that. Yibo's eyes finally met his. And you could have trusted me. The raw honesty between them was enough to soften the air. Xiao Zhan looked down, then gave a small, weary smile. We're idiots. Yibo chuckled bitterly. Yeah. Two idiots who can't stop fighting over things that don't matter. They both stood there, silent, breathing heavily but calmer now. The storm outside began to ease, mirroring the peace that slowly returned between them. Finally, Yibo held out his hand. Truce. Xiao Zhan looked at it for a moment, then took it with a faint smile. Truce. The crew, who had been watching silently the whole time, finally exhaled in relief. The cameras had captured every moment, not for the world to see, but as a reminder of how fragile yet powerful true bonds can be. As they walked out of the studio side by side, the rain had stopped. The city lights shimmered through the damp glass, casting a golden glow around them. No one said a word, but both of them knew that something had changed. Something deeper, something unspoken. The air in the studio was still thick with tension. Even after the shouting, the silence that followed was louder than any argument. Wang Yibo stood frozen, his chest rising and falling sharply. His fists still clenched at his sides. Across the room, Xiao Zhan's eyes were red, not from anger anymore, but from exhaustion and the weight of everything left unsaid. The faint hum of the rain outside only made it worse. Every droplet that struck the glass seemed to echo their broken breaths. The crew whispered quietly, afraid to move. What they had just witnessed wasn't a simple disagreement. It was years of friendship colliding head-on with pride, misunderstanding, and unspoken emotion. Yibo took a shaky breath, his voice low but sharp. You think I don't care? You think I'd ever do something to hurt you? Xiao Zhan turned his back to him, staring blankly at the reflection in the window. His voice trembled, though he tried to sound calm. You already did, Yibo. Maybe not on purpose, but you did. Yibo's expression softened for a moment. Then tell me how. Tell me where I went wrong so I can fix it. Xiao Zhan laughed bitterly, his tone mixed with sadness. You stopped seeing me. You started seeing the celebrity, The one that has to smile, keep quiet and play along. You forgot I'm still me. Still the same person who trusted you with everything. Yibo's voice cracked slightly. You think I forgot? Every time I look at you I remember everything. From the first night we rehearsed together, to the time we stayed up talking till dawn about our dreams. I didn't forget, Zhan. I just didn't know how to reach you anymore. Xiao Zhan turned to face him then, eyes filled with disbelief and pain. Reach me. You walked away every time I tried to talk. You shut down every time I got close. Something inside Yibo snapped. Because I was scared, Zhan. Scared of saying something that could ruin us both. Scared that one wrong word could destroy everything we built. That confession hung heavy in the air. The walls seemed to close in, the tension too thick to breathe through. Xiao Zhan stared at him, his heartbeat pounding in his ears. So instead of talking, you just decided to let me think I was the problem. Yibo's eyes glistened. I thought I was protecting you. That sentence shattered something inside Xiao Zhan. He took a step forward, his voice trembling but fierce. Protecting me? By lying? By making me feel alone while standing right beside you? Yibo said nothing. His throat tightened. Xiao Zhan continued, emotion pouring out with every word. Do you know how it feels to walk into a room and have everyone look at you like you're the reason things went wrong? To see your name dragged, to hear whispers that you've changed, when all you were trying to do was survive. His voice cracked at the end, and Yibo looked down, unable to meet his gaze. The rain outside grew louder, as if the sky itself was reflecting the chaos between them. Lightning flashed briefly, illuminating their faces, two souls torn between anger and heartbreak. Yibo finally looked up. His voice was quiet now, almost broken. Zhan, you're not the only one who suffered. Xiao Zhan froze. I heard those same whispers, Yibo continued, his voice trembling. I saw the same headlines. They said I was jealous of you. That I hated you. Do you have any idea how hard it was to stay silent and watch you believe it? Tears threatened to spill from Xiao Zhan's eyes, but he blinked them back. Then why didn't you tell me, Yibo? Why did you let me think you turned your back on me? Yibo stepped closer, the distance between them shrinking to inches. His voice softened, sincere. Because I didn't think you needed me anymore. For a long time, Xiao Zhan just stared at him. The anger in his eyes began to fade, replaced by something raw, regret. You idiot, he whispered, his voice cracking. I always needed you. The two of them stood there in silence, their emotions laid bare. The crew quietly slipped out, giving them space. This wasn't for cameras anymore. This was personal. Yibo ran a hand through his hair, pacing slightly before letting out a sigh. I messed up, didn't I? Xiao Zhan gave a small, sad smile. We both did. Yibo looked up, his gaze meeting Zhan's once more. I don't want this to end like this. I don't want us to become strangers. Xiao Zhan exhaled deeply, the tension in his shoulders finally easing. Then stop running, Yibo. Stop hiding behind silence. For the first time that night, Yibo smiled faintly. You really are stubborn. And you're impossible, Xiao Zhan replied softly, a ghost of a laugh escaping him. The faint humor between them was fragile but real. Slowly they began to breathe easier. Xiao Zhan walked back to the piano, running his fingers across the keys again, the same song that had started the fight. Only this time it sounded different. Slower, sadder, yet more honest. Yibo stood beside him listening. You still remember the chords? Xiao Zhan nodded without looking up. Every one of them. You wrote this part, remember? Yibo smiled quietly. Yeah, I remember. Without another word, Yibo sat beside him, his fingers joining the melody. The room filled with the soft, haunting sound of their music, the same song that once represented their unity, now reborn through forgiveness. The lights dimmed around them as if the world itself was holding its breath. The melody grew deeper, and though no words were spoken, everything they couldn't say was right there, In the rhythm, in the silence between notes, in the small, understanding glances they exchanged. When the song ended, Xiao Zhan let out a shaky breath. I don't know what happens next, Yibo. Maybe we'll fight again. Maybe we'll drift. But for now, I just want us to be okay. Yibo nodded, his eyes soft. We will be. We've been through too much not to be. As they stood, the tension that had once suffocated the room finally broke. The rain outside had stopped. The first rays of dawn peeked through the windows, casting a golden light across their faces. Two men who had fought, broken, and finally begun to heal. They didn't need to say anything more. Some bonds didn't need words. Only understanding. That night's fight became a story whispered in the shadows of fame, never spoken publicly, but forever etched in their hearts. For those who knew them, it marked a turning point, the moment two souls, bound by destiny and artistry, found their way back from the edge. And though the world would never see the storm that raged between them, its afterglow would shine through every smile, every glance, every performance they shared from that day on. Because some connections, no matter how tested, always find their way back home.